Transcribed by turboscribe.ai, weaving words into a narrative. Upgrade to unlimited to eliminate this notification. The memory of the rain kissing my face that night is etched in my mind. Chilling and piercing, reminiscent of countless tiny darts jabbing at my flesh. Or perhaps that was simply the sensation when your whole universe crumbles at your feet. Apologies, I made a vow to keep my emotions in check while sharing this tale, yet certain wounds etch their presence into our lives, leaving marks that linger long after the pain has faded. Once upon a time, there was a person named Elaine. 3 years back, I found myself on the brink of celebrating my 15th wedding anniversary with Preston, my college sweetheart who became my husband. From the outside, we seemed to embody an ideal existence. A charming colonial residence nestled in the serene suburbs of Boston, waiting to share its tales of history and warmth. Honorable professions, he works in the realm of corporate law, I work in the field of hospital administration, and a network of connections that many would admire. What people overlooked were the fissures that had been emerging since the 3rd year, cracks that deepened and spread as time flowed on. It was during my sophomore year at Dartmouth that I first crossed paths with Preston. He had a magnetic charm and a relentless drive, and when he directed his gaze your way, it was as if you were enveloped in warm rays of sunshine. For 15 years, I pursued that sensation, that comforting glow. Unbeknownst to them, the fleeting moments of cloudiness had gradually evolved into an endless season of frost. Wow, I'm really channeling some deep creativity right now. Yet in those moments, I found it difficult to express the whirlwind of emotions and experiences swirling within me. Elaine, have you had a chance to reach out to the landscaper regarding the backyard? Preston's voice carried a unique blend of ease and authority, captivating those who listened. On a Tuesday evening, I wrapped up a grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital, navigating the chaos of a system-wide computer crash that disrupted patient records. I apologize, but I encountered an unexpected situation at work. I'll call first thing tomorrow, I replied, setting my bag down and already sensing the familiar tightness in my chest, the beginning of one of his moods. Preston let out a heavy sigh, his gaze fixed intently on the screen of his laptop. It was brought up 3 days prior. This weekend the Hargroves are visiting and the yard is in complete disarray. You're aware of the significance these relationships hold for my journey towards partnership. I nodded and offered another apology, a habit I couldn't shake before making my way to the kitchen to begin dinner, despite my feet protesting from a long day on them. That was the way we did things. Preston's seemingly casual remarks carried an underlying weight, transforming into firm directives that left me racing to fulfill expectations that remained shrouded in ambiguity until I stumbled in my attempts. The influence was gentle in the beginning. He would offer his thoughts on my attire for the company's gatherings. That blue dress tells a tale of professionalism, darling. With whom should I nurture my friendships? Bethany appears to be facing quite a journey. Perhaps it would be wise to allow her some room to breathe. Ways to navigate my career journey. Working in hospital administration offers more favorable hours compared to clinical roles, leading to greater happiness. Believe in me. Every piece of advice was delivered with a sense of care, every limitation framed as a gesture of care for my well-being. And somewhere along the way, the lively, outspoken woman I had been in college began to fade, replaced by someone who meticulously checked her text messages 3 times before hitting send, who practiced casual conversations in her mind before engaging, who experienced a flutter of anxiety when the phone rang. Is the chicken meant to be this dry? That evening, as they gathered around the dinner table, Preston inquired while deftly slicing into the breast with careful precision. Perhaps you could give that marinade a shot, the one Vivian mentioned during the Christmas gathering. Vivian, the office manager at his firm. He often spoke of her, sharing tales of her remarkable organizational skills, her delightful cooking tips, and her impeccable fashion sense. I'll give that a shot next time, I remarked, even though I was well aware that the chicken was just right. Years ago, I had lost faith in my own perceptions. Next, the narrative turned to financial control. We kept our finances distinct, yet Preston was adamant about taking the reins on our investments and significant financial choices. It simply resonates, Elaine. My profession involves navigating the intricate world of multi-million-dollar agreements. It was puzzling to me why I had to seek permission for spending over $200 from my own earnings, or why my name was absent from the deed of our home even though I helped with the mortgage, or why our conversations about beginning a family kept getting delayed due to financial timing concerns. When did I first start to wonder if he was being unfaithful? There were those late nights that seemed to multiply, the business trips that stretched on for an extra day or two, the messages he would cleverly shield from my sight. Yet doubt is not the same as certainty, and I may have lingered in ambiguity if it weren't for that stormy Thursday when I departed from work early, burdened by a migraine. I had no plans to be here today. That's crucial to grasp. Throughout 15 years of marriage, I had never not once walked through the door unannounced. I consistently reached out, making sure to connect before arriving. A part of me thinks that my actions that day were influenced by a deeper understanding I had, even if I wasn't fully aware of it at the time. As I shut the front door, the sound found its way to me first. A woman's laughter, bright and free, echoes from above. Then a rich, resonant sound filled the air, unmistakably Preston's heartfelt laughter. The words that had been absent from my ears for so long. My body acted on instinct, shoes still on purse gripped tightly in my white-knuckled hands. Ascending the staircase that Preston had adamantly chosen to cover in a light beige, a color that seemed to highlight every trace of dirt. The bedroom door stood slightly open, and through that narrow gap I caught a glimpse of them. Once upon a time, there were two characters named Preston and Vivian upon our resting place. The bed I had arranged that morning, the corners of the bed were tucked in perfectly just as he liked it. I remained silent, not a sound escaping my lips. I stood frozen, observing my husband as he leaned in to kiss another woman's neck, her head thrown back in delight. Their bare bodies swayed together, a cruel parody of the closeness he had denied me for so long. With quiet steps, I retreated, making my way down the staircase before stepping out into the open air through the front door. And there in the driveway, as the first drops of a spring storm began to fall, I finally let the tears flow. Not only for the betrayal I had just seen unfold, but for the decade and a half I had dedicated to fading into the background. But this isn't a tale about how I crumbled. This is a tale of how I collected those fragments and transformed them into something more resilient. As I stood there, the rain blending with my tears, a surprising emotion surged within me, intertwining with the pain and sense of betrayal. Comfort. A wave of comfort washed over me, for I now held undeniable evidence that I wasn't losing my mind, wasn't overly sensitive, and wasn't fabricating the gap that had grown between us. There's a sense of liberation that comes from finally having clarity after years of uncertainty. It's empowering to have something concrete to highlight and declare this isn't right. The next step I took would alter the course of everything. Yet, in that moment, as I stood in the rain, I was unaware of the profound truth that enveloped me, feeling both broken and, in a way, exhilaratingly liberated. For the first time in 15 years, I stood at a crossroads, ready to carve my own path and embrace the freedom of choice. In the days that followed, I chose not to face Preston neither that night nor the next, nor even throughout the week that came after. I made my way back to the car, navigated to a hotel, and completed the check-in process with a series of automatic gestures. I called in sick to work the next morning, a rare occurrence for me, and found myself lying in the unfamiliar hotel bed, gazing at the ceiling as my thoughts wandered through 15 years of memories now seen through a different lens. Preston reached out 17 times before I finally picked up the phone. "Elaine, where have you wandered off to? I've been filled with concern." His voice carried that familiar hint of worry that had deceived me countless times in the past. I found myself in need of some distance, I declared, taken aback by the calmness that resonated in my tone. "I'm stepping away from work for a few days. I find myself in a secure place. However, I require some moments to reflect, a moment of stillness. Contemplate what is this concerning the person who shapes the gardens. I reached out to them personally. All is well and sorted out." The sheer contrast between his world and mine was almost amusing. "Just about. It's not about the one who tends to the garden, Preston. It's a narrative of our journey. I'll return home on Sunday evening. Let's share our thoughts then." He attempted to dig deeper for details, but I stood my ground, marking another first, and concluded the conversation. Then I reached out to my colleague Deirdre, the sole work companion that Preston hadn't quietly nudged away from me, likely due to her straightforward demeanor and single status, which made her seem harmless in his perspective. "I could really use your help with something important. How about we grab a coffee together?" Deirdre simply accepted my presence at the cafe, even with my puffy eyes and yesterday's outfit, without a hint of inquiry. She absorbed my account of the events, her occasional outbursts of colorful language drawing disapproving looks from the couple at the next table. I always sensed he had a domineering side, but to think he was unfaithful as well. "What tale will you weave next? Kindly share that you're parting ways with him. Could it be that I was—" The inquiry lingered, waiting for a response. 15 years can weave a complex tapestry, particularly when connections with friends have frayed, financial autonomy has been undermined, and self-assurance has dwindled to such an extent that choices seem daunting. "I'm not quite sure at the moment," I confessed, "but I could really use a place to rest for a few days as I sort things out." Without hesitation, Deirdre opened her home, offering her spare room to those in need. "Take all the time you require. What about Elaine? Within you lies a strength that often goes unrecognized." Though doubt lingered in my mind, I offered a nod in response. The following 3 days unfolded in a whirlwind of tangible tasks that managed to hold back the overwhelming tide of emotions. Once upon a time, I approached an ATM eager to withdraw the maximum daily amount from my personal account. This little adventure unfolded over 3 consecutive days, each visit filled with anticipation and routine. I reached out to a lawyer friend of Deirdre's who focused on divorce, sharing my story during a 2-hour consultation that left me feeling both exhausted and oddly invigorated.
Elaine, she said to me, financial abuse is still a form of abuse. Her gaze was gentle yet resolute. There's an evident thread of influence woven throughout this narrative.
We have the opportunity to weave a compelling narrative, particularly with the betrayal involved. However, we must ensure your place is firmly established. She suggested that I hold off on confronting Preston about the affair for the time being to collect evidence regarding our finances to safeguard personal belongings of worth and above all to exercise caution. Individuals like your husband often struggle with the idea of relinquishing control. The moment women attempt to break free from controlling relationships is often the most perilous. Her words wrapped around me like a cold breeze, a haunting reminder of the truth she spoke. Preston had always been calm on the surface, yet I had witnessed the icy wrath that surfaced whenever he faced a challenge or defiance. He had a remarkable ability to use silence and disapproval as if they were powerful tools in his arsenal. The gentle warnings cloaked in affectionate care. I can't help but think about how you'd navigate things in my absence, Elaine. Your financial knowledge could use some improvement. On a Saturday morning, while Preston was said to be at a work retreat, I now understood that he was with Vivian. I returned home and carefully sifted through our files, capturing images of financial statements, property documents, and tax returns. I discovered my grandmother's jewelry, which Preston had strongly urged us to store in the home safe for safekeeping. A vault with a combination he updated last year but never shared the new code with me. After 3 tries with dates that held meaning for him, I finally decided to use his birth year and successfully gained access. I filled multiple suitcases with clothes and personal belongings, thoughtfully choosing items he wouldn't quickly realize were gone. As I wandered through the house, echoes of the past emerged like whispers in a quiet room. Preston's sharp remarks about my cooking echoed through the room, leaving our dinner guests visibly uncomfortable, caught in the tension of the moment. Preston sharing insights about my role at a hospital fundraiser. Preston called off our anniversary dinner because of a client, then returned home with a hint of perfume that wasn't mine. The most unsettling revelation unfolded as I examined his home office computer. Preston approached password protection with a careful strategy, yet he held the conviction that my technological skills were insufficient to be a concern. He had a secret, a simple combination that had traveled with him through time. It was the number that once adorned his college football jersey, a badge of honor, followed by the initials that represented his identity. Within the confines of that space, I stumbled upon a trove of revealing emails exchanged between him and Vivian stretching back more than 2 years. Alongside them lay a folder filled with meticulous records of my expenditures, my work timetable, and even logs of my phone calls and messages that he had somehow managed to access. The extent of monitoring took me by surprise even after all those years of oversight. This wasn't merely a domineering spouse. This was an individual who perceived me as an object to be overseen and regulated. Among the files was a document titled Prenup Amendment, a draft agreement that would significantly restrict my claims in the event of a divorce which he had seemingly been preparing for me to sign on our upcoming anniversary. I sent all the information to my secure email, then meticulously restored the computer to its original condition. My hands trembled, but it wasn't out of fear. A realization took shape within me, a sharp and undeniable clarity that I would not just exit this marriage, but I would do so according to my own wishes. As Sunday evening unfolded, I found my way back home, a single suitcase in hand, reminiscent of a brief adventure just completed. Preston sat in the living room, his face carefully arranged to convey a sense of deep concern. Elaine, what a relief. I've been feeling quite anxious. He reached out to draw me close, yet I took a step back, keeping a space between us. A spark danced in his gaze. A swirl of uncertainty followed by a flicker of annoyance at this unforeseen obstacle. We need to have a conversation, I said, placing my suitcase on the ground. Absolutely, he said, motioning towards the sofa. I picked up your favorite from Marcello's, hoping we could enjoy a lovely dinner and talk about what's been on your mind. My experience at Marcello's included chicken marsala, though it had never truly captured my heart. Years ago, I had casually mentioned that it didn't sit well with my stomach, yet Preston was adamant that I was wrong and has continued to order it for me ever since. This minor disregard for my choices unexpectedly encapsulated the essence of our whole union. I stood firm, insisting that I wasn't hungry. Preston, I'm aware of Vivian's story. His expression held steady for about 3 seconds, a brief moment for him to weigh his options and decide on the most effective strategy. Then appeared the deep lines of perplexity. Vivian, who is in charge of the office, what can you share about her? The feigned purity in his tone caused a deeper resolve to form within me. I caught a glimpse of you together. Once upon a time, there was a moment that needed to be shared, within the confines of our intimate space. On a Thursday afternoon, yet another moment of stillness, once more we delve into the numbers.
Then, Elaine, I'm not sure what you believe you witnessed, but please just stop. My voice remained steady,
Yet it carried a sharpness that caught him off guard. I witnessed a moment between you and Vivian in our shared space. I lingered in the doorway, observing the scene unfold before me. Please spare what's left of our marriage the pain of dishonesty at this moment. His approach transformed dramatically, the worried husband mask slipping to unveil a demeanor that was more frigid and methodical. All right, once upon a time, an event unfolded once upon a time. I've stumbled along the way. For 2 long years, I've been navigating the immense pressure that comes with my job, I interjected. For 2 years, you've shared a bed with her. The adventure to Chicago last May, she was present. Those Thursday meetings that stretch into the evening alongside her, the weekend getaway you claim to be enjoying at this moment alongside her. Preston's gaze sharpened. You explored my computer, not an outright refusal. No effort made whatsoever, only frustration at the breach of his personal space. The very same privacy he had consistently withheld from me over the years. Indeed, I confessed, it seems I've come across the monitoring software that you placed on my phone, the chronicles of my conversations and messages, the amendment to the prenup that you intended to reveal as a surprise to me. His lips pressed together, forming a narrow line. Your actions were unjustified. The ridiculousness of his outrage could have amused me were it not for the icy fury coursing through me. It's time for us to part ways, Preston. His expression remained unchanged. Simply working through the numbers. It seems you're feeling a bit down. That makes sense. However, ending a marriage is a profound journey, Elaine. It's important to reflect deeply on the implications of that for you. In terms of finances, in a communal setting, a shadow loomed on the horizon, perfectly timed. Enveloped in worry, I have pondered it deeply, I responded. With great care, actually I have an idea for our next steps. Preston's eyebrows arched with intrigue. This wasn't the tale he had envisioned, the heartbroken wife pleading for another opportunity, her emotions spilling over in a desperate appeal. This was an intriguing experience. It was clear that it disturbed him deeply. I'm all ears, he said, trying to steer the dialogue back to his hands. The words that followed would ignite a chain of events, ultimately guiding us to that dinner. It began with my tears and transformed into something entirely unexpected. As I gazed at my husband of 15 years, a new perspective began to unfold before me. Not as the commanding presence that had shaped my existence, but as a diminutive, uncertain individual whose influence was merely a reflection of my own granting. How about we share a meal? I proposed, my tone unwavering. Not this evening, on the upcoming Friday. There's a place I dream of visiting where flavors and experiences await to unfold. Let's dive into the details then. What are the conditions? Preston's expression was a mix of caution and a hint of amusement, as if he found my negotiation efforts endearing yet ultimately pointless. Indeed, I reiterated the terms. Oh, and Preston, let me share something with you. It seems like Vivian would be a great addition to our group. For the first time in our conversation, his face displayed a look of true astonishment. Are you really being serious right now? With my suitcase in hand, I was ready to embark on another journey, completely earnest. Next Friday at 7 p.m., the 3 of us will gather together. I'll share the details with you soon, and if I turn this down... Curious inquiry, our eyes locked in a moment of connection. On Monday morning, you'll hear from my lawyer. And the atmosphere shifts to something far less friendly. Just as I was about to walk away, I heard him call out to me. What journey awaits you? Welcome to a place that feels like yours as well. I lingered at the threshold, absolutely not Preston. It feels like ages since this place has truly been my home. The expression of bewildered fury on his face as I exited would have previously plunged me into a whirlwind of excuses and compromises. At that moment, it seemed like a long-awaited triumph had finally come my way after so many years. For the next 5 days, I brought to life the plan that had taken shape during those serene moments in Deirdre's spare bedroom. It was more than merely departing from Preston. It was a journey of gathering back all that he had claimed from me, each fragment meticulously restored. On Monday morning, my journey began at the bank. I embarked on a new journey by opening an account at a different institution, moving a part of my salary to this fresh chapter. It may not be sufficient to catch Preston's attention, yet it serves as a foundation for creating a financial safety net. The bank manager's brow furrowed with worry as I shared my need for an account that my husband wouldn't be able to reach. Ma'am, is everything all right in your world? She inquired softly. The sincerity in her gaze almost shattered the facade I had so meticulously crafted. How long had it been since someone had truly cared about my well-being instead of focusing on how my actions might impact them? It will be, I replied, taken aback by my own confidence. Then I reached out to Adelia Preston's mother. Even with his domineering tendencies, Preston projected the image of a caring family man, and he held a sense of pride in his bond with his widowed mother. Adelia had always shown me kindness, though there was a certain distance in her demeanor. I often wondered if she perceived more than she revealed. Elaine, what a delightful surprise. Her voice held onto a hint of that southern charm, a remnant of her roots that remained intact even after years spent in New England. Preston shared that you were stepping back for a bit. Did he share any tales about why? I inquired with great care. A moment of stillness. Oh no, my dear, that didn't happen. Yet I have nurtured one individual and shared my life with another. I can sense when the full narrative isn't being shared. That beginning was everything I was waiting for. There are tales left untold, just enough for her to grasp that the union was coming to a close and the reasons behind it. I also shared an invitation. This Friday, I've set the stage for a delightful dinner at Lucian's. Preston is set to make an appearance. And it seems there's another person he's been connected with who will be present. It would mean a lot to have you with us. A dinner filled with tension, Adelia's curiosity seemed to outweigh any sense of disapproval.
That doesn't quite match the Elaine I remember. I'm no longer the Elaine you remember, I responded. I question if I truly ever was.
Another moment of silence then. At what hour should I make my entrance? Similar exchanges unfolded with Preston's sister Margot, who consistently regarded me with a subtle air of superiority, reflecting her brother's belief that I was somewhat lesser in intellect. I also connected with my sister Thalia, who had slowly been sidelined in my life due to Preston's quiet critiques and our conflicting schedules. Oh my goodness, Elaine, Thalia burst forth with excitement after I shared the tale of what had transpired. There was an unsettling feeling in the air. Little did I know it was this dire.
Why didn't you share that with me?
The question pierced through, revealing the extent to which Preston had managed to set me apart. He convinced me that I was the issue, I confessed, that my understanding was misguided. I felt fortunate to have him in my life. That absolute scoundrel, Thalia whispered under her breath. There has always been an intriguing air about him that made me wonder. Yet your resolve to see it through was truly remarkable. Hold on, did you really extend an invitation to his secret companion for this dinner as well? Absolutely, confident. Possibly chaotic, I'm completely on board. The hardest conversation was with Harrison Wellington, Preston's father-in-law from his first marriage. In his mid-20s, Preston found himself in a whirlwind romance with Eliza, the daughter of Harrison. Their union, however, was short-lived, as whispers of betrayal soon surfaced, leading to its untimely end. At least that was the tale Preston had always shared. Over the years, they had nurtured a friendly connection with Harrison, sometimes sending clients in Preston's direction. I had crossed paths with Harrison on a couple of occasions during firm gatherings, and he left an impression as a distinguished elder who approached Preston with a sense of respectful wariness. Unearthing his contact details took some effort, and I had my doubts about whether he would even recall who I was. Ms. Caldwell, absolutely, I recall our time together. The spouse of Preston, his voice carried a sense of formality, yet it remained warm and inviting. How may I assist you today? As I shared my predicament and inquired about his presence at the dinner, the line fell into a deep hush. Let me share something with you, Ms. Caldwell. Eliza was always faithful to Preston. The words lingered in the space between us, bringing to light a suspicion I had carried for years. With a gentle tone, I responded, I didn't think she had. She departed due to actions that closely mirrored what you're outlining. The narrative unfolds. The manipulation of reality, the solitude. I witnessed my daughter fade away in that marriage, and I felt gratitude each day for her courage to break free from it.
Yet another moment of stillness. I look forward to joining you for dinner, Ms. Caldwell, and I'll bring the records we
collected during their separation that Preston was so keen to have kept under wraps by the court. The last chapter featured Vivian herself. I momentarily thought about facing her head-on, but opted for another route instead. Thanks to Deirdre's connections at the hospital, I found a nurse who had once cared for Vivian's mother. A few subtle inquiries uncovered that Mrs. Layton held strong traditional values and had been vocally enthusiastic about her daughter's recent advancement at a renowned law firm, a promotion that I now realized had probably been shaped by her connection with Preston. I reached out to Mrs. Layton with a formal invitation sharing that our firm was organizing a special dinner to honor Vivian's contributions and that family members were invited to join us for this meaningful occasion.
It was clear to me that manipulation was at play, but upon uncovering the full scope of Preston and Vivian's deceit,
not merely the affair, but the way they had mocked me in their emails referring to me as the obedient wife and chuckling over my obliviousness, my sense of guilt had faded considerably. Lucian's was chosen with intention. The place had a certain elegance that would surely please Preston, a level of seclusion that kept any potential gossip at bay, and above all, it was owned by the sibling of a patient for whom I had championed an insurance appeal just last year. Xavier Lucien extended a generous offer, promising his unwavering support for anything I might require after I successfully arranged coverage for his brother's groundbreaking treatment. I was finally gathering my tales. I conveyed to Xavier over the phone that I required a private room for 12 complete discretion and the ability to dictate the seating arrangement. With unwavering confidence, he assured, "You can count on it. What about Elaine? Whatever this journey entails, may fortune be on your side." As Thursday approached, everything began to align perfectly. Preston found himself at the dinner, a reluctant participant in what he perceived as a misguided effort at mending fences. He suspected it was meant to be an awkward yet fleeting encounter, paving the way for a quiet separation. Vivian had also confirmed, likely anticipating a heartfelt exchange that she could navigate with Preston's backing before they embraced their relationship more openly. Neither had any inkling of who else might show up, nor what insights I was ready to unveil. As the evening approached, I found myself in Deirdre's apartment, going through the carefully arranged folders I had set up. One held financial records revealing how Preston had methodically funneled joint funds into accounts solely in his name. Another possessed the records of my actions that he had meticulously documented. A third held the candid exchanges between him and Vivian, featuring messages that mapped out their future once I was no longer in the frame. The most revealing aspect was the folder Harrison had given me, containing court transcripts from Preston's initial divorce. These documents unveiled a troubling pattern of emotional manipulation and control that echoed my own experiences with unsettling precision. "Do you really want to embark on this journey?" Deirdre inquired, observing as I arranged the materials. "Prepare for an experience that will be nothing short of gripping." As I lifted my gaze from the documents, a sense of tranquility washed over me. For 15 years, I lived in the shadow of his reactions, constantly wary of his judgment and disapproval. I no longer feel fear, yet an open clash. "It's not about shaming others," I clarified, although that could definitely be an unintended consequence. "It's about ensuring he can't dictate the tale. If I approached him in private, he would manipulate the situation, causing me to question my own thoughts once more, and then share his narrative with everyone else. In this manner, all unfolds, and every detail is laid bare for all to see." Deirdre gave a thoughtful nod. "Just be ready for him to push back. Individuals like Preston are not easily subdued." "I understand," I replied as I shut the final folder. "That's relying on it." Friday evening unfolded with a vividness I hadn't felt in ages. In a moment of anticipation, I adorned myself in a deep blue dress that I had chosen specifically for this special occasion. None of the choices made by Preston were his own. I chose to style my hair in a way that felt right to me rather than conforming to his suggestions of what would look better. I decided to put on the bold red lipstick he always insisted was too intense for my skin tone. As I added the last details, I glanced at my reflection in the mirror and stopped for a moment. The woman gazing back at me was no longer the scared, diminished figure I had been 2 weeks prior. Her eyes sparkled with a fierce resolve, and her shoulders bore the weight of unwavering determination. I hardly recognized the person staring back at me, but there was a sense of authenticity within me that I hadn't experienced in a decade and a half. With anticipation, I reached Lucien's 30 minutes ahead of time, eager to make sure every detail was perfectly in place. Xavier welcomed me with a warm smile, guiding me to the intimate dining room where a horseshoe-shaped table awaited arranged just as I had envisioned. As the guests arrive, they will be guided to this location he shared, and I've briefed the staff on the serving schedule you asked for. Thank you, Xavier, for sharing your thoughts. I set my folders down at my seat in the heart of the horseshoe. There's just one more thing to share. Whatever unfolds this evening, no one shall be asked to depart unless I explicitly call for it. He nodded, grasping the deeper meaning behind it all. The spotlight is all yours, Elaine. We'll embark on this journey together, guided by your direction. I settled into my seat, anticipation swirling within me, a blend of nervousness and determination coursing through my veins. To everyone's surprise, the first to show up was Harrison Wellington, looking quite distinguished in his tailored suit and holding a leather portfolio. "Ms. Caldwell," he welcomed me with a sense of formality. "Or can I refer to you as Elaine, now that we share this little secret, Elaine, if you would be so kind?" I responded, a faint smile playing on my lips. "We appreciate your presence, Mr. Wellington. Harrison," he clarified, settling into the chair I pointed out, "and I wouldn't trade this experience for anything." Preston's fate has been woven into the fabric of time, long anticipated by those who know his tale. As the moments passed, more and more individuals started to make their entrance, Thalia alongside her partner. Adelia exudes an air of elegance and curiosity. Margot and her husband looked bewildered by the increasing crowd, while Deirdre wore a bold smile brimming with excitement. Mrs. Layton stepped in her demeanor a mix of pride and confusion, as if she had anticipated an entirely different kind of gathering. At exactly 7 p.m., Preston walked in, and his lawyer's smile turned to ice upon seeing the gathered crowd. Vivian halted abruptly, her gaze flitting anxiously from one face to another, a sense of unease washing over her. Elaine Preston's voice carried a measured intensity as he drew near to me. "Can you share what's happening here?" I held his gaze firmly. "That's precisely what I mentioned, Preston, an evening gathering to explore the details. Kindly find a place to settle in. Same to you, Vivian. The moment is upon us, and the journey is about to unfold." As they took their seats, the last ones left right across from me, an unexpected sense of tranquility washed over me. The scene was prepared, the crowd gathered in anticipation. And for the first time in 15 years, I held the reins of the narrative. "Thank you all for being here." I started, my voice more confident than I had anticipated. "A select few among you have been extended unique invitations." I caught a glimpse of Preston and Vivian, perhaps taken aback by the lineup of guests. "This file exceeds a duration of 30 minutes. Experience limitless possibilities at turboscribe.ie, where you can transcribe files that stretch up to 10 hours in length.